Hello, I am the Gaming Superhero, and I'm starting a new series where I'll create concepts for all sorts of Marvel characters to add to Marvel Rivals. And for the grand debut, I have chosen a highly requested character, Rogue, aka Anne Marie. So, to set some ground rules for the series, first we will establish any basic information, such as the role and star difficulty rating of the character, as well as any basic background information of the character to get everyone up to speed on them, although it's probably unnecessary for Rogue, given her mainstream nature as a core X-Men member, but I want to be consistent and, set a good precedent going forward. So Rogue was born in Caldecott County, Mississippi. No, they don't give a city. Daughter of Mystique, half-sister of Nightcrawler, sometimes lover of Gambit, or Magneto if you're sick in the head. She started out as an Avengers villain, interesting enough, with her first appearance in Avengers Annual number 10, where she is tasked by Mystique to steal Carol Danvers' Miss Marvel's powers. After a short stint fighting Dazzler, of all characters, she just shows up at the X-Mansion wanting to learn how to use her powers and become a good guy. This is probably more in-depth than I would usually go for a hero origin, but I felt it necessary to get to the point where she joins the X-Men. I would have stopped at first appearing, giving Miss Marvel a good sucking, but enough history and learning, let's get to the good shit. I believe Rogue would be a 5-star duelist with the primary fire being just her fists. They would do decent enough damage, nothing crazy. The real meat comes from ability 1. Power absorption. This is the crux of her whole kit, because it is her whole kit. It is the only base unique ability she possesses. Functions as a grab. When Rogue is close enough to an opponent, she will hold on to the opponent for as long as the ability button is held, at which point you gain more abilities the longer you hold on to the enemy, as well as drain their health during the hold. The enemy is immobile and unable to do anything, and will require their teammates to shoot the Rogue off. Taking damage will not immediately cancel the ability, but dying will, so there is incentive to stop when you start getting shot at. So, if Rogue just taps the ability button on an enemy, she will only receive the character's basic attack and passive. Using Hela as an example, you would get her Night Sword Thorn. Then, if Rogue holds the button for at least 1 second, she gains the character's ability 1 and alt fire, if they have one. Sticking with the Hela example, you would get Piercing Night alt fire and Astral Flak ability. This works out quite well, given most characters' first ability is some kind of mobility tool, making it weakest by far as making plays solely with it. But if you hold the button for 2 seconds, you get the second ability, in Hela's case Soul Drainer. But the really nice thing about Rogue's ability is that you can mix and match. If you hold Hela for 1 second, then stop to grab the Hulk for 2 seconds, you gain his radioactive lockdown while having Hela's Thorn, Alt Fire, and Astral Flak. Hell, you could go further. Touch Scarlet Witch for less than 1 second, getting her primary fire and passive, grab Hela for 1 second for her Flak and Alt Fire, then Hulk for 2 seconds for the lockdown. The combinations are near endless. You could also steal support abilities, but who's gonna do that, Why would you pick support abilities when you can just shoot people harder? Important note, how I imagine this going to my head is it would function similar to how it actually works in the comics. For example, if you touch the Punisher, you're not going to get his primary, machine gun fire, because Rogue's not going to suddenly grow a machine gun out of her ass just because she touched what is essentially a normal man. This makes it both character accurate and also functions well as a base limiter so that her kit doesn't get too crazy. Other characters that would follow the same philosophy would be Iron Man, Rocket Raccoon, stuff like that. But there are also some fun, unique interactions for more specific characters, like touching Storm for less than a second would turn Rogue into a flying character, as well as giving, the basic fire and passive. And touching a tank character would, raise your base health level up to the level of the tank. It is also important to note that all of the abilities you steal only last for the life. So, if Rogue, makes a full kit out of the enemy team's abilities, but then dies, she will be resetting back to no ability. She will have to gain them all back after death. It's all a little bit complicated, but that's why I made her a 5-star difficulty. Not to mention how hard getting in to grab the abilities would be. Finally, we have the ultimate. This one isn't stolen from any characters, it is wholly unique to Rogue. I'm basing it off of the one episode of X-Men Evolution. For anyone who hasn't seen the best X-Men show, there's an episode where all of the abilities and personalities of everyone she has ever touched start just flooding back trying to take over, causing a maelstrom of abilities to erupt. For our purposes, we're going to give her a predetermined set of abilities that will make her overpowered for a few seconds. Her health will increase exponentially, similar to Storm or Spider-Man, and she will have an area of effect around her that does persistent damage, visualized in like a lightning ball, would be my thought for it. In this form, she is stuck in place, floating above, similar to Hela's, but not in first person and not nearly as high, with her primary fire being a large, high-damaging beam. If you need a visual, think Cyclops eye lasers, that she can aim and has no fall-off. There will also be random energy projectiles firing out from all directions. These could be visualized in many different ways, either referencing characters in the game or more minor X-Men that they may not want to add quite so soon. Now, for the team-up, I imagine it would be with Storm and Magic. Simply put, the team-up ability would just be for Rogue to be able to touch Storm or Magic to gain some of their abilities so she can go into the first team fight with something and, be of some use to the team. Fairly simple compared to, the rest of it. But overall, that is how I would add Rogue to Marvel Rivals. And I intend to put one of these out every Friday or so. Here's hoping. And a little surprise on Wednesdays, which will only really be a surprise for the first Wednesday. But I hope you enjoyed, and you're welcome for not releasing this video last month, you sick freak!